All right, good afternoon. My name is Chris Coffey. I am the Grants and Resources Coordinator for Arts Culture Catawba. Arts Culture Catawba, formerly known as the United Arts Council of Catawba County, is the arts agency for Catawba County that promotes, nurtures, and funds excellence in individuals and organizations who provide creative experiences. So, all of that to say, we really love and support all of our artists in this community. We support all of our arts and cultural organizations, and really anybody around here that is trying to create creative experiences for us all. So, one of the ways that we support our artists in this community is through our grant programs. And today we're going to be talking about the Innovative Artist Grant. This is a grant that we offer every spring, typically in March. So I'm sharing my screen right now and we'll take a look together. So this is our website, artscatawba.org. You can see over here we have a grants and scholarships tab. You could also just go directly to artscatawba.org/grants. And the first thing you'll see here are some instructions for saving and accessing your application in progress. If you would like to work on your application in stages and you anticipate that you'll be coming back to it and working on it in parts, you can go ahead and create an account here so that you can log back in and work on your application in sections. I will say Innovative Artist Grant is one of the shorter applications on our website, so you may not need to worry about creating an account if you're just going to do it all in one sitting, and that's totally fine. So these are the featured grants here at the top of our page. We're currently in our spring grant cycle, so we have these four opportunities available. The Innovative Artist Grant is open now and it's due March 19th. Then we scroll down a little bit. These are our grants for individuals. So we currently have two artist grants available. The Artist Support Grant typically takes place in the fall. Around September is usually when that happens. And then the Innovative Artist Grant is typically in the spring and typically due by March. So looking at some dates here, the applications are currently open. They've been open since January the 12th. They'll be due on March the 19th. And if you're applying for this grant, go ahead and save that April the 8th date because part of this application process is all of the applicants have to come in and do an in-person presentation before our grant panel. So we'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute, but go ahead and save that date if you're planning on applying for this. So Innovative Artist Grants are made possible by money raised during a silent art auction held each year as part of our annual fundraising event, the Jingle Bell Bash. The grant awards are for innovative and creative projects with collaborative efforts encouraged. Seeking to cultivate area artists, the purpose of these grants is to create exposure and a focus on Catawba County's support of its artists. So as it mentions there, the primary funding source for this grant program is from our fundraiser event, the Jingle Bell Bash. We do that every December, and we always have a big silent auction. All the proceeds from the auction go to this grant program. Also, we do get some local funding support for this as well. We get some local funding from Catawba County government, and also, let's see, I got the list here. City of Hickory, City of Newton, City of Conover, City of Claremont, Town of Maiden, and Town of Catawba. So all of these local municipalities and the county government also give us some local funding as well, and that gets used to support a lot of the grant programs, including the Innovative Artist. So let's get into the guidelines here. And we already read that. So the purpose of this grant is to fund the most innovative projects/experiences that benefit residents of Catawba County and to create exposure and focus on Catawba County with the support of its artists. So, just as I mentioned before, with the local support for this grant program, there is a big focus on Catawba County and the project being very Catawba County centric. And it's primarily for innovative projects by local artists. So going into eligibility, the Innovative Artists Project Grant is open to artists of any artistic discipline for innovative arts projects. Due to the source of matching funds, projects must benefit Catawba County residents. However, there are no restrictions on the applicant's place of residence. So if you don't live within the county, that's okay, but the project does need to be taking place in Catawba County, or it needs to be primarily benefiting Catawba County residents. Applicants may apply once per year. If an applicant did receive funding in the previous year for a different project, they're allowed to apply again, but the priority is going to go towards the new applicants with the new projects. And then finally, an artist may apply for a project for an arts related business that they own, but the artist must be contributing artistically to the project, in saying that the project must involve the artist's own artistic work. Um, we uh, we changed the language on that this last year just to be a little more specific about that. But if anyone has any questions, we did find last year and the last couple of years that a lot of artists were applying for projects that were really benefiting their own business that they own, and that's great. It just again the purpose, the funding is really supposed to be going to the artist. So I'll give an example for this. Last year we funded a mural for a new tattoo shop, and the tattoo shop owner was the one who applied for the grant, but she was also going to be the artist. Her and her team of tattoo artists were the ones that were designing and painting the mural themselves on the side of their own building. So we were able to give them a grant for that. If it had been a tattoo art, if the tattoo shop owner wasn't the one who was actually creating the mural and she was asking for grant funds so she could pay another artist to do it, then that wouldn't have been applicable. So again, we take these on a case by case basis. So if there's any confusion or any questions about whether you can apply, just reach out to me. My email is on here in several places, I think, at grants@artskatawba.org. Okay, so next up, let's talk about the project period. Projects should take place between July 1st, 2026 and June 15th, 2027. Upon special approval by the grant panel, projects may take place after our fiscal year end on June 30th. However, all funds must be requested no later than June 15th. So generally, your projects should be taking place between July 1st of this year and June 15th of next year. That just goes on our fiscal year schedule because that's where those funds were designated for. So we've designated the Innovative Artist funds for that fiscal year, so they have to be distributed within that fiscal year. That's why we have it on June 15th. Is to give us a little bit of buffer so that if you guys are requesting at the last minute by June 15th, we'll still have a little time to get the check processed and get it to you to where it still counts for us in this year, if that makes sense. So again, generally that's the general time frame. There can be some exceptions, but we really need I would plan for your project to take place in this time frame. And if something comes up to where it gets delayed, I mean, it'll just have to get turned into writing and we'll have to approve it. So it's no guarantee. So if you're applying for this grant, just plan for your project to take place within this time frame. The grant award range, you can apply for between $500 to $4,000. So $4,000 is the maximum for this. And we do not require the applicant to provide any matching funds. The project may be completely funded by the grant alone. That's perfectly fine. You don't have to put up any of your own funds or have a sponsor or another grant source or anything like that. Okay, and so the application process, applications must be submitted through the online form on our website by Thursday, March 19th, 2026. And you should instantly receive a response indicating your application was received. So we'll look at this when we turn in an application together, but you should immediately get an email that just says like your application's been submitted, and it'll give you a copy of all your answers that you can save in your own files. So if you don't get that automatic message, that probably means that we didn't receive it either. So please do reach out to me if something seems funny with that. Okay, and yes, we talked about the grant panel. Applicants will be required to appear before a grant panel on Wednesday, April the 8th, 2026. Presentations will take place between 9 to 12 p.m. and will follow to set up your time slot after the applications have been submitted by March 19th. So yeah, let's get a little more into this grant panel. So please do save that date, April 18th, April 8th, if you're planning to apply for this. And basically, after all the applications come in on March 19th, I'll be reaching out to everyone that's applied and we'll set up time slots. Those times are typically about 15 minutes per person. We usually schedule 8 minutes for the applicant to talk about their project and then 7 minutes for questions by the panel. So it'll just be a 15-minute time slot within this time frame. And again, I'll be following up with everyone that applies after we get all the applications in. We'll make a little schedule and we'll send out some information about that. Okay, so for our review process, Grant requests will be evaluated by a panel of Arts Culture Catawba board members, as well as a few qualified community partners. And the evaluation criteria that we'll be reviewing the applications on includes innovation slash creativity, artistic quality, benefit to Catawba County citizens, and feasibility of the project. So for innovation, we'll mostly be looking at is it some kind of a new experience for this area, or is it something that's really innovating or pushing the envelope in some way? For artistic quality, we'll be looking at the quality of your work. So just based on examples of that we have, um, the benefit to Catawba County citizens. That one's pretty self-explanatory. You know, how is the project benefiting citizens here? Like, what is it providing for the people in this area? Like some kind of new experience or some opportunity for them to go do something or something that they can appreciate. Um, Finally, the feasibility of the project. That just includes that's really more about your planning. You know, how realistic is the project that you're proposing, and how much of your ducks do you have in a row as far as things that are confirmed, and your budget, is your budget sound, and does it make sense? And are there, you know, do you have all of your estimates and figures lined up for that? So those are the types of things we'll be looking at for your applications. If funded, the applicant must sign a contract with Arts Culture Catawba and submit a cash request form to receive funds. This process is important to understand too. The awardee may request the first half of their grant funds up front. However, the second half will be released after they submit a final report. So whenever you receive your, if you receive a grant, you'll get a packet in the mail that will have your contract and a cash request, and you can go ahead and request the first half of your funds up front. But then you'll have to go back and do the final report, and then we'll send the second half. So that's how that process will work. If you have any publicity or printed materials for the project, let's say if it's an event and you're putting some flyers up, or you're posting some social media posts, you know, please do include us in that. You can go onto our website, again on this grant page here, and for logos, acknowledgement, wording for grant awards, click here. So we can go onto that page. And there's this place here where you can download our logo if you want to post it or include it in a poster. Also grant recognition / language. And I think it's pretty simple for innovative. I think we just say, yeah, this project is supported by a grant from Arts Culture Catawba. So if you want to credit it, like do any kind of credit line on anything that you're doing, you could just say, you could use that language there, and that would work. Right. And really, if you want to do any kind of post, you know, even if it's not something public facing, if you want to post maybe on your artist accounts that you received a grant from Arts Culture Catawba, you know, we do always appreciate the recognition. It's always nice. So, okay. So a final report, as I mentioned earlier, will be due at the end of the projects or no later than June 15th, 2027. And any funds not granted will be carried over to the following year. You know, if a project gets canceled for whatever reason, and the committee doesn't approve an extension or anything like that, or if the project's just totally canceled, then those funds would return to us and get rolled into the next cycle. Okay, so we have some technical instructions for the online application forms here. Rather than going through that though, we're just going to go through a whole application together anyway. So we'll just do that. Okay, so go ahead and get into this here. Got the application form. And it says, before you begin, this form allows you to save the application at any point prior to completion and return to complete at a later time. So you can sign in and or register an account if you don't have one. I'll show you all what that looks like real quick. We can use my personal account here. So once you're signed in, you'll have a dashboard at the top, this black bar. You can go to my dashboard or you can sign out. And then you'll also notice, move my Zoom controls. There we go. You'll notice that this gets added down here once you're signed in, and you can hit save for later. If you do so, it will save your application, and then the next time you come in, you'll go up to my dashboard, and there will be a button here that says incomplete grant scholarship applications. and then the innovative will be here. So you'll just click continue. All right, so you'll give the project some kind of a title. I'm going to get real original with mine. And then here you'll put the grant amount you're requesting. Again, it can be anywhere between $500 and $4,000. And you'll include your own name here. For this grant, some people may be wondering, you could also apply as a group of artists. Sometimes people will include several names here of the different people that are involved in the project if you're doing something that's more of a collective effort. Really, the main distinguishing factor I would say is whether the people working on the project are incorporated into some kind of official entity. If it's a loosely affiliated group, that's fine. But if you're technically part of some organization, then you may just need to talk to me and make sure that that's okay. Because this really isn't intended for more individuals or, groups of people working together, unaffiliated groups. So you'll put the names of any applicants there and a lead contact person if that's applicable. You don't have to put anything there. Email address, phone number, and then county of residence, then mailing address. And we're going to get to this in a second, but a lot of this application is attachments. So you can prep all those attachments ahead of time before you even get into this. Okay, please provide a brief summary of your proposed project in one sentence. Just keep it brief. The main purpose of this is going to be when I do grant listings and things like that, it'd be great to have a really short summary of everyone's projects. That could be like, this person received funding for this person received funding for that. So, just keep it a brief one sentence here. I get really creative again. Okay, so as I mentioned, a lot of this application is attachments. So the long description of your project will be an attachment. You'll write it as a letter. We don't have any particular format or template for this, so just however you'd best like to express your project. But it is a letter with a detailed explanation of the project, and you must state how the project will benefit the residents of Catawba County. So you'll write some kind of a letter. It could be just a page, and you could save it as a Word doc or a PDF. And down here, we have our file dropper. You can either click Browse Files, and that'll get into your local files, or what I prefer to do usually is just pull up my File Explorer, and I usually like to just drag and drop. So you'll do it just like that. And then it will upload here. And then the second one, please use the provided budget template to create a project budget that includes the intended use of funds and all income sources for the project. So we'll download that here. And that's going to come up as an Excel. So let's read through that together as well. Please provide a description and amount for each line item in your budget. For project expenses, list any specific project costs such as art supplies, space rental, marketing costs, etc. Please provide as much detail as possible. Under project income, explain any sources of funding for the project, including your own funds, which you could list as applicant cash, sponsorships, other grants, etc. List your innovative artist grant requests under income as well. You also put that there. It's already been pre-filled. And ideally, your total income should at least equal your total expenses in order to show your plan to fund the project. So we'll look at an example budget really quick that can maybe provide some of that detail. So you'll see here in expenses, you'll put down each expense and the amount. Paint, brushes, easels in my example, space rental, flyer printing, and social media ads adds up to about $2,000. And then for my request on this example, I'm requesting $1,500, and I'm also putting up $500 of my own money for it. So that is ideally what an example of a budget should look like. You're explaining exactly how you plan to fund all of the things that you need for the project, and you're explaining all the different line items that you're going to need for it. So it should look like that. Again, the match is not required though. So you could your project budget could look exactly like that. And it's just funded by the Innovative Artist Grant, which is perfectly fine. Um, but generally, I mean, these were some example expenses, but if you have the very specific costs, you could include that as well, and that would really help your application. So, like if you have something down to the cent amount of what you need, and you have, there'll be a place where you can also upload some support materials. So, if you had the exact cost of like, 7, 11, 23 for this paint, and then you have, let's say you could take a screenshot of Amazon, maybe where you're ordering the paint from, and you have that exact dollar amount on a screenshot, you could upload that as a budget support material, and that would improve your application. So that is an option for you. Okay, but I think we got the project budget pretty much covered now. The other attachments include a resume or a biography that lists training and awards received. Again, it's kind of like the letter. We don't have any template for this, so it's just going to be designed by yourself. However, you want to present your own artistic experience. And then optional support materials, really anything else you want to upload here. It could include samples of your work, so we could see what some of your work looks like, letters of recommendation from someone. What I mentioned earlier about the support materials for the budget, you could put quotes or pricing. If you have screenshots of like a quote or something online that you're going to order, that could be extra support material for that. And that would make your application stronger. So that's pretty much the gist of it. I think I leave enough room in here to upload eight different attachments if you need to, but you're just required to have the letter and the project budget and the resume or biography. And then after that, you'll click I'm not a robot. And I showed you how the save feature works, so we'll go ahead and send this. I think I did everything that was required. There we go. And then you'll get this message, thank you, your entry's been received. And if I were to go on my email right now, it would probably show and say, your application's been submitted, and I'll have a copy of all my answers. That's what it should look like. Okay, so I think that pretty much covers everything. Again, if you have any questions, you can reach out to me at grants@artskatawba.org. This application is going to be due by March the 19th this year, and we're planning those panels for the morning of April the 8th. So if you are applying, just save that date on your calendar. But in the meantime, if anybody has any questions about whether you can apply or whether this project would be a good fit for this program, or if how you can make your application as strong as possible, I'm here to give guidance on any of that. So please feel free to reach out to me anytime.